Various farms were located in the agricultural district, but standing out among them was a well-known research facility. Working an early shift at Vital Laboratories was Lucy Faraday, a biochemist on her third year working there. With dark, wavy hair flowing on top of her white lab coat, she greeted fellow co-workers as she entered her laboratory. She put on her gloves and checked on her extraction apparatus, which she had arranged the previous evening to prepare a high concentration of her desired compound overnight. The project she and her subordinates were working on was nearly 2 years in the making, and centered around a plant known to give a high boost in alertness to those who consumed its beans. Before the onset of this project, the plant in question was actually believed to be extinct. Records predating the founding of this city show it being referred to as cheddar vines, because they bore yellow-brown beans that, when consumed, would drive animals into sprinting like cheetahs. Lucy Faraday had often explored the forest near her laboratory, not as a field scientist, but as a genuine lover of nature. Appreciative of its aesthetic appeal, she valued conservation along with the rest of her family. But fascinated by its hidden organic chemistry, she saw opportunities in extracting compounds and forming derivatives that could benefit humans. So when she heard that the city she just moved into used to be the site of an herb that disappeared, she couldn't help but take a look around to see what else she might find. Never in her wildest dreams did she expect to actually find the plant. Yet that was exactly what happened. Eventually, a medical stimulant had been derived from this compound at a different wing of the laboratory. Going back to more current times, Miss Faraday examined her extraction apparatus and was satisfied with the amount of yellow fluid that had collected in the round bottom flask at its base. Lucy was about to run a routine test of purity when she caught her employer entering the room in her peripheral vision. "Oh, good morning, John. I was just about to run a mass spec on the sample," she greeted as she turned toward her longtime employer. John Proctor responded, "Right on schedule as usual, Lucy, which is why I came just in time to stop you. I just finished speaking with the sample collectors, and they were worried about some kinds of signs of damage to the soil near the plants." Lucy furrowed her brow at this news, having been the one to discover the original plants from which these were bred from. "Sorry to hear that," she responded, still wondering what her boss meant by stopping her. "Yeah, well, I told them that it might just be some animal wandering around. I told them to put up a fence days ago," continued Mr. Proctor, saying that last part with a bit of frustration. "Anyways, they asked for one of us to check it out, and I figured you'd be the best choice. Oh, don't worry about the mass spec. I'll have Connor take care of it while you're gone." Lucy held back a smile as she was given the task of heading to the sample collection site in the lush green forest. Mr. Proctor already knew she would be elated by the change of scenery, but held back his desire to point it out. Miss Faraday went to her personal locker, where she stashed her field equipment. She removed her lab coat, which revealed a brightly colored shirt of red and green stripes, and subsequently covered those stripes in a protective khaki jacket. Soon enough, she had collected her gear and was on her way to the field. After driving along the roads that slipped through the surrounding land, Miss Faraday stopped a distance before the forest became thick, not wanting to run over even a stray flower as she made her way on foot. Since the cheddar vine's medicine had only just finished its animal testing stage, the modest field that Vital Labs had planted to raise the plants would suffice for now. Lucy still found herself impressed by how well her colleagues had modified the compound's molecular structure to neutralize its side effects. As she approached the site, however, she heard the sound of an approaching engine and turned to find a camouflage-painted Jeep emerge out of nowhere from the woods. It hummed loudly as it dodged tree after tree, but just as quickly as it arrived, was heading onto the dirt road and accelerating away. Lucy furrowed her brow as the curious vehicle disappeared from her field of view, leaving only a trail of dust and tire tracks. After hurrying her pace to the site, she arrived at the developed network of mature cheddar vines, which were vines with sweet-smelling spotted leaves sticking out as they ran along the soil. All were surrounded by the pharmacists that had come to harvest their leaves. As the harvesters greeted the biochemist, one of them stood up from the vine he was studying and smiled, saying, "Oh, you're the one who found these babies, aren't you? Pleased to meet you, Miss Faraday. Name's Carl Solon." Lucy returned the greeting and responded, "Likewise. So what did you want me to see?" The harvesting scientist led Lucy to the end of one vine, which displayed signs of damage. Interestingly, there was a patch of red soil yards away from the plants. A harvester had already dug a hole to confirm that this red coloration only existed at a shallow depth, saving Miss Faraday quite a bit of time. The biochemist pondered. The soil is only red here, and the color stops suddenly instead of diffusing out greatly. But it's not even close to the vines, and only that one is damaged. Why is he worried about chemical damage when these are more likely to be bite marks? As she was brainstorming, however, she turned to the harvester and was met with concerned eyes, wondering why this biochemist was taking so long to begin testing the soil. Once she saw these eyes, she began to understand the concern. These plants, it's compound. That's their life right now. They're doing their best to protect them, so they make something that's going to help others. At last, Lucy retrieved her standard soil testing kit from her bag, figuring it would give the necessary information to ease his concerns and find out what was really going on. "By the way, Mrs. Solon, was someone leaving here in a hurry with a jeep?" she inquired as she ran the tests. The harvester responded, "Oh, you heard that too? I'm guessing that was one of the harvesters patrolling. You know, the ones controlling the population, those elks invading the farms nearby." "Why do you ask?" Lucy remembered hearing news of these burly, antlered herbivores that had migrated into the area. Contrary to their normal instincts of keeping to themselves and their adequate food supply, they had suddenly started to trespass on farms and compete with livestock within the past week for no conceivable reason. "Just wondering." While the harvester expected the soil to be particularly acidic, the biochemist observed no such result. She actually found the red soil to be 0.03 points higher on the pH scale than the surrounding soil. In other words, more basic. "Well, from this quick reading here, there doesn't seem to be a pH problem," she informed him, though she was left with more questions than answers. "Naturally, I'll give it a proper analysis when I bring a sample back to Vital. Anything else, Mr. Solon?" The biochemist's diagnosis seemed to please the harvesting scientist, who audibly breathed a sigh of relief. "That sounds all right. Well, do your best to figure it out. Thanks." Miss Faraday was satisfied that none of the tests showed any results warranting concern for the vines. She eagerly returned to Vital Labs and spent the next hour preparing and running a proper mass spec on the soil samples, with a small glimmer of hope in mind that she might find yet another useful substance as a result. Hours later, when the sun was low in the sky, Lucy was standing in her laboratory, but was staring blankly out the window and lacking her usually optimistic expression. She actually found a combination of biologically useful molecules. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the way she wanted. "Why?" she asked. "Why did it have to be blood?"